Underdog Fantasy Football ADP is constantly updating with new values being created every single day. And we got to make sure that when we are drafting, we are taking advantage of those values before they go away. So today we are talking about three wide receiver values where it is extremely easy for these players to outperform their current ADP on Underdog Fantasy Football. And we're going to be starting off with New York Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson. I understand every single year it seems like this is Garrett Wilson's year. He has so much talent. It's time for him to break out. But this year is really the year where he can finally do it. He has gotten Justin Fields as his quarterback, who was his quarterback at The Ohio State University. And I know Justin Fields is probably not a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, but we have to keep in mind that this is the quarterback who gave DJ Moore one of his most fantasy relevant seasons that he's ever seen, made him a wide receiver one. Looking at the ADP on Underdog Fantasy Football, Garrett Wilson, despite coming off a wide receiver 11 season in half PPR, he's going off the board at wide receiver 15. This is way too low for a guy who's as talented as Garrett Wilson is, a player who demands the football when he's not getting it, and you know he is going to be easily going to be a wide receiver one. Some of the guys he's going around Jackson Smith and Jigba, who just got Sam Darnold, so not a quarter. He doesn't have the same situation that he had last season that led to his wide receiver one finish. So I'm taking Garrett Wilson over him. Marvin Harrison Jr., his rookie season historically was a good rookie season, but that's just historically for first round wide receivers. Looking at wide receivers with his pedigree, his first season in the NFL was disappointing, but he still has a pretty good outlook overall for Dynasty, just not for this year. Garrett Wilson, definitely a better pick than Marvin Harrison Jr. this year, despite their ADPs going back-to-back on Underdog Fantasy Football. Another guy in this range, Terry McLaurin. Looking at his stats historically, it looks like Terry McLaurin's season is going to be somewhere between wide receiver 12 to wide receiver 16. Garrett Wilson, his stats tell us that he's going to have a wide receiver 6 to wide receiver 10 season. So Garrett Wilson's outlook looks better. But talking about Terry McLaurin, there's actually a player on Underdog who looks just like Terry McLaurin almost exactly. He was also drafted in the same draft as an older wide receiver prospect and is coming off his big breakout season as a fantasy wide receiver. And believe it or not, that wide receiver is actually going to be Denver Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton. This guy, wide receiver 13 in half PPR. Yes, he got a lot of touchdowns, but we got to remember why everything changed for him. He got Sean Payton as his head coach and got Bo Nix as his franchise quarterback. None of that has changed. Still is a great coach. Still has a great quarterback for him next year. It's going to be funneled targets. They brought in Evan Ingram via trade, but didn't draft a high-end wide receiver in the first round of the draft. So Courtland Sutton's spot as that wide receiver one, that massive target getter, is absolutely safe in this offense. Courtland Sutton, as a player, as just a budget Terry McLaurin, I absolutely love him in underdog drafts as a selection. And we just talked about he's supposed to finish somewhere between wide receiver 12 to 16. So wide receiver 27 is an absolute bargain. And this is someone who we need to be drafting. Zay Flowers, we know exactly what Zay Flowers is. He's a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. His first 2 seasons in the league, in PPR leagues, he put up the exact same amount of points in both years. And he's not going to be having a big change in his offense. You know, it's still Lamar Jackson. It's still the same offense. It's always going to be a run-first offense with Mark Andrews in that offense when it comes to Zay Flowers. So I really like Courtland Sutton over him. Devontae Smith, his ceiling is capped by A.J. Brown. Jameson Williams, same deal. Talented wide receiver, but his ceiling is capped by an even better wide receiver. This time it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Calvin Ridley, definitely a worse projection for Calvin Ridley, but if you want to go ahead and select Calvin Ridley, I cannot fault that. Calvin Ridley, highly talented guy, and he's getting a big change in Cam Ward. That's the most important part when it comes to selecting Calvin Ridley. Now, our third value here when it comes to wide receivers, it's going to be a rookie drafted in the second round by the Las Vegas Raiders. It's going to be rookie Jack Bech. I know a lot of guys, a lot of film watchers, prospect people were very high on this guy. His physical route running, great hands. People are comparing this player to Puka Nacua, and I think he's someone that we can be very excited to be drafting when it comes to our underdog drafts here. So what we have, looking at his statistics from his last couple years in college, started at LSU, where he actually outproduced, as a freshman, he outproduced both Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. So extremely impressive rookie season. Fell off a little bit for his next 2 years. Transferred to TCU and had another breakout senior season. Well, actually, not another breakout season. That was his first breakout season as a senior. Not what we like to see. We want to see you break out as a freshman, but very impressive stuff from a rookie wide receiver. Another reason why I want to go ahead and be selecting Jack Bech is if we look at the wide receivers in his offense, there's no one there. There's just Jacoby Myers, and we know Jacoby Myers at this stage of his career, we can confidently say he is not a wide receiver one. So we know that wide receiver one spot is wide open, and Jack Bech is that type of alpha wide receiver who can take that wide receiver one mantle away from Jacoby Myers. Yes, they got Brock Bowers, phenomenal tight end. They got Ashton Genty, who didn't catch the ball a ton in his last season in college, but his sophomore season at Boise State racked up targets. They are both going to be factors, but I really think Jack Bech has all the tools to outproduce his underdog ADP at wide receiver 62. I think this is someone that everyone playing on underdog fantasy football can be extremely excited to draft because he's like almost free, like going at wide receiver or ADP of 141.1, very, very low. Going next to Jalen McMillan, who's free falling after seems like every single wide receiver is now in that Buccaneers offense. Adam Thielen is absolutely ancient. Kyle Williams, another guy that film buffs love, but just a rookie wide receiver, so you never know what you're getting with him. And Hollywood Brown, who is extremely unreliable. When it comes to this crop of wide receivers, I really think Jack Bech is a player that you can put your money on and be very excited to draft in your underdog drafts. But that's what I got for today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And as always, have a great day.